the very cool and sometimes sad and sometimes odd thing about getting older is you're further and further from girlhood and this kind of girlhood processing or boyhood or, childhood processing of these ideas about life and the world, and you're able to look at them with far more complexity or deeper empathy or a deeper compassion or a deeper attachment to children because you have them or whatever it is. And I'm always kind of shook by how, I truly felt that I was reading that book for the first time as if I remember reading it and being like, God, I wish I could, write like Toni Morrison. I just remember thinking that the writing was so beautiful, and it's so hard to read Toni Morrison because I think she speaks in her own language and you kind of have to drop in. Like, to me, if you open a Toni book, it's like snails for the first probably 30 minutes, and you drop in and then all of a sudden you're cruising through the book. Like it takes me so long to all of a sudden be like, the pace of the world, the pace that Toni Morrison demands you be at to understand what she's saying and feel her language. Yeah. And so that was its own crazy thing because maybe it was COVID. I can't remember. I think so when I was reading it, but it's like to drop in like that when in a frenzied world, it was so meditative and beautiful and helpful. And I actually just couldn't believe the different feeling experience I had from the first time I read it. It's almost like when you're speed reading when you're young, it's like you're noticing technique and you're noticing da-da-da, and you're like, oh, that was awesome, or that made me think this, and you're all in your head. And then I think as you leave girlhood, you read and you're really deeply in your heart because life feels more fragile. More horrible things start happening around you, that reminds you of the fragility of our lives. And so many of people that you are your favorite authors because you just were so admired them, they really become really close and intimate to you. And it's that's to me it's weird, I think, for a book to confront you with your own distance from being a child.
Well, I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of reading. And I am a very big believer in rereading books because, you always bring so much of yourself to whatever you're reading. And so exactly like you're saying, reading Toni Morrison in high school when you are cued to understand technique and style and, something that becomes something of a task, is a completely different reading experience than when you're actually choosing to involve and immerse yourself into a story. And when you are reading, age is a real gift. Aging is such a gift when you are reading because you're able to look at it in a completely different way, and like, of course, reading a book when you're in high school and these things, you're like, I can't even comprehend what this loss is, what this struggle is.
Or like the dates that it has to be read by this date. And it's like, I think a lot of those containers do not create connection for you in the book.
Yeah.
To know, or I get why they kind of.
Could you even be looking for yourself in it, period? It's more of just a task or some sort of requirement.
Or you get why in the summer times they'd be like, okay, you're going to have a reading contest of who can read the most books. And all of a sudden you realize that you kind of like, I would speed through some of the best books ever written.
Yeah.
And then later you're kind of like, wait, what?
Well, it's very, I've never been someone who can read in a group. I don't belong to any book club. I'm not someone that
I feel like you've tried to book club.
I have tried at the request of other people. They're like, let's read this together. But reading is so personal and private to me that I wouldn't even know what to say to someone. Like, if I'm reading a story, I'm reading it and I'm taking it in at that time, and then it's marinating in me. I mean, I've had books be so powerful that I literally the next day I'm like, I'm jet lagged. I'm jet lagged from traveling, and I need to take it down. I have to just let it, be in there. And I'm just like, it is not my strength at all, which I don't think is a bad thing. For me, stories are very personal. I'm taking it in. taking it in and it's all, you know, it's really about where you are right now, you know, and those parts that are hitting you and sticking with you, and like, you know, understanding a Giovanni's Room level heartbreak at 42 is very different than something that I could ever understand at 16, 17.
Yeah. Will you just put a book down? Like, if you don't like it, will you just say bye? Or do you feel you have to finish it?
I don't feel you have to finish it. I don't. There's so much great literature out there that I just think you can just keep it moving. And I don't even count it as not reading something. Obviously, if you're 10 pages in and you decide to move on, then that's one thing. But if you're 100 pages in and you're not connecting with the story, that's fine. I also think that it can just not be the right time.
Yeah.
And you can come back to it later. Books really surprise you. You know, one of my favorite books is Homegoing and I wasn't expecting it. And that was like in the summer, you know, reading that level of, I think it's 8 generations long story.
Yeah.
In the summertime, like while I'm sitting on a beach, was something that I was not expecting at all, but it just grabbed me.
Yes,
you know,
I wouldn't say it's exactly
it's not a
flirty
beach read. No, it is not. It is not. But it grabbed me. It took me. I had, you know, and like, again, that's the power of books. That's the power of stories, is that you find them, but then they also find you.
Do you think that I want to talk a little bit about growth mindset, because something I really love about you and I aspire towards is you're really intentional. And do you think that finding your way towards being so intentional, where you're like, I will do this with this person, I will, you know, I will only do this with this person, I only feel comfortable, like, you know, it's intentional, it's specific. But I think in that there's a way that you're kind of like watering yourself for growth. Mm-hmm. Do you associate being intentional with your own kind of growth, or is it a way to kind of protect you where you are?
Well, I think that part of the reason why I am so clear about what I want to do is because I feel like I spent my 20s doing everything and saying yes to everything. And, you know, there is a very clear feeling in my body when I know that I'm not doing something that is aligned with who I want to be and the person that I want to be, and my I would say goals for myself. But, you know, it's not like I'm not the person that wakes up and is like, these are my goals. I don't have them written down on a piece of paper, but I can feel it. Yeah. I know when something is not aligned with who I am. And I start my day out reading, and it really, I think, sets the tone for me to be in my body. Even though reading novels really is something that I enjoy so much because it takes me out of my life, I like to leave. I like to leave town. I like to be immersed in someone else's story, and leaving and also simultaneously really connecting to myself. So, and that really sets the tone for everything else that I do within my day and my free time. And I can feel it. I can feel when I'm leaving my body. I can feel when a choice that I'm asked to make is just not something that's for me. And, you know, so it makes it very easy for me to say, yes, I actually want to do this, or no, I don't. Or I want to curate this time. You know, I think it's such a big part of your and my friendship is we're like, you know what would be so fun? And we just curate, we just curate our own time of like, this is going to feel good for us. This is going to connect us to who we want to be as readers, who we want to be as people. That's how we landed here doing this.
True.
You know?